Good afternoon, everybody. This is Cappuccino Garage, and today we are going to work on installing my N2 kit. So let's go ahead and head over here. We got the turbo, RHB31. We have some injectors. We have bolts for the turbo manifold and downpipe because they tend to stretch. And then we have the Suzuki Sport N2 ECU. So today I think we're going to start with taking the battery out, and then, don't mind my awful little filter there on the blow-off valve. We're going to work on getting the battery out, and then we're going to try to get the turbo out. First we got to move a couple things out of the way, like some of these hoses, charge pipes, air filter. I will get back with you in a second. All right, guys, we got the battery out, which is a good idea to do because it gives you a lot more space down here. Don't mind this piece, that was for the twin charge. It was a piece of the bracket, but gives you a good idea of a place to probably clean because a little bit of corrosion down there. Not too bad, but as you can see down there, we got bolts. Should be 4 for the downpipe / cat down here. And I'm not gonna get those off right yet. Probably gonna take a few things off up here first, disconnect some things. I might take the strut brace off. I might take out these charge pipes. But yeah, update's coming. All right, guys, we got the intake off, charge pipe off for the intercooler. And then if you come down here, you can see you got a lot more space. Kind of hard to see still, but I mean, the whole turbo assembly is right there. So what we're gonna do next, I'll probably disconnect the blow-off valve here, start removing bolts. Remember where your ground wires go? This one went right here on the strut brace. This one down here went to the battery tray. Just anytime you find a ground, either put a piece of tape on it and mark it, just so you know where it's going to be when you put it back. What I'm probably also going to do, since I already removed my AC lines, I'm probably going to go in under the dash and remove this box because I don't need it. And weight reduction, race car. All right, be back in a second. All right, I'm back. I was told I'm a failure because I was not in landscape mode. Bad on me. This is why I don't do videos. But came in here, took the blow-off valve, 210s, right there. And then taking the heat shield off there, you got 210s, but that one over here is kind of a pain because this is in the way, this pipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these 210s off right here and then have easier access to it. Be right back. Right into my first snag. All right, so that 10 comes out super easy. I guess depending on your mileage and how much corrosion there is. This one is just a Phillips. And this sucker is already stripped. So, I got 2 options here. Looks like I can either cut around it or just, you know, break it off, or try to get it out. I'm gonna work at it, see what I can do. For the blow-off valve, just take this clip right here, pull it back this way, and it slides right out. And then take that off down there. Looks like there is a gasket here, which I'm gonna try to save. Swap it over to the next turbo, and I'll be back. All right, guys, managed to get that one out. It was a pain in the ass, but I had a Phillips that was wide enough to sit in it and not strip it out anymore. So it looks like next, I got a couple more hoses to disconnect. This is the recirc hose here, and it just connects down there. What I'll probably do is just plug the recirc on the other turbo so I don't have to worry about that hose being there. And then I gotta remove these bolts back here and these 3 on top of the manifold. Hopefully none of them break. wish me luck, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, update. Got the 3 bolts out of the manifold. Actually came out pretty easy. I had to backtrack on them a little bit just because I was scared of breaking them, but honestly, not too bad. This is what they came out looking like. Let's see if it'll focus. Looks like they're in pretty good shape. I'm gonna replace them anyway, just keep these as spares. Just a little corroded, but nothing out of the normal. All right, I'm gonna get the ones off the back now, and I'll be back. All right, guys, I've run into a snag again. So I've gotten pretty much all the bolts off down there, except for that one. And it is a pain in the ass. It wants to strip on me. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna just disconnect the exhaust. That way I can just pull this up through when I have it all disconnected, because I wanna clean out the cat anyway. There's just 2 14s down there holding on the exhaust flange. And if I can get those off, this will make things a lot easier. Other than that, got that hose disconnected. Took that bolt off right there in the middle instead of trying to get behind it. Disconnected the water line up here. And yeah, I'm just gonna head out of the car and try to get that disconnected. All right, my fellow cappuccino people. Since that one bolt was stuck back there and I did not want to strip it, I went down to try to take the 2 nuts off the cat to just disconnect the exhaust. I figured that'd be easier. Yeah, well, screw that. One of them broke right off. I got a couple turns and it just snapped. The other one didn't want to move, so I said, screw it. I'm just gonna continue with my side exit exhaust, and I'm going to just cut it. So I took my hacksaw to the exhaust and cut it off. Now I just gotta fish this through, trying to figure out if I wanna go forward or back, and then take it all apart, put the new one back together, and reinstall. All right, another update. Could not get this whole assembly out. So I went ahead and took these bolts out. You got a nut here, and you got 2 hex heads underneath. I didn't have a hex head for a ratchet, so I had to use just my bare hands with a regular hex head, or Allen key, or whatever you want to call it. And it sucked. But she's off now, so I'll go ahead and pull that off real quick. A lot of carbon buildup in there, but honestly, it's not terrible. All right, to be continued. All right, took forever, but the turbo is now out. That son of a bitch, that guy sucked. But at least now I can start figuring things out and cleaning up the engine bay a little bit. Goodbye.
All right, so just to kind of recap where we're picking up, it's a brand new day. So Garen's got the turbo shielding cat done. That's all mounted back up. The outlet, the BOV, going all the way to the radiator, that's all done. Intake's hooked back up. So now, aside from putting all this stuff back, the battery and such, now we're gonna do injectors.
Injectors, well, yeah, injectors and exhaust and spark plugs probably.
Yeah, so probably gonna work on injectors next. That's right over in this area. I'll get some more light in here. But basically that right there, which you can't see, is the fuel rail. It's right here underneath that little plug there. So we're gonna get started on those, and then we also are going to do spark plugs, and we're going to get the exhaust. Check out my dude's exhaust. It's so long. Very restrictive.
It'll be longer than that.
We just, you know, we're gonna hope that 75-degree angle bend isn't gonna restrict the airflow too much coming out of this thing, because all the mad power it's gonna be making. Guys, I have never seen the inside of one of our turbos. Look at that thing. It is adorable. That is no bigger than like a quarter. It's so small. And like the wastegate is like the size of a dime. It's hilarious. This is the entire turbo. It's ridiculous. Oh, that's funny. All right, so Garen's underneath disconnecting all the exhaust stuff. Doesn't really have anything to do with his job. So while he's doing that, I decided to take this bit off. So this usually sits right here. And this is part of the PCV system. Air, there's a vacuum line here. So it does a couple things. For the life of me, I could not get this hose off. So I just disconnected it from that side. And we're just gonna set it over here. But that goes just to his catch can there. So we're getting a little bit closer. That's the fuel rail. So I think I need to take off a couple of these connections. I need to take off this 90. And we'll go from there. I'll let you know here in a second. All right, so I got the fuel rail mostly exposed. That's it right there. Got all the lines kind of disconnected on top of it. Got the injector connections disconnected. So it looks like there's just these little 10mm bolts. There's one there and one back here. I think we should be able to pull it out from there. But we'll give it a try and see. All right, so I did get those two 10mm out. One other thing I had to take loose was this. This is what I'm imagining is the fuel inlet here, because there's definitely fuel coming out of it. Take those two 10mm off, and they go right there on that gasket, and this thing's got this little neck that goes into the fuel rail. It is leaking a little bit. Okay, so maybe we should block this off with something. But I'm gonna try to wiggle this rail out of here now. I don't think there's anything else connecting it, so we'll see. All right, I know we say this a lot, but one more thing. So this down in here on the back of the fuel rail is either the delivery or the return. I think it's return.
It's a 20.
And it's a 20mm. That's gonna come off the back end there. I'm not so sure yet. I tried pulling the rail out and the intake manifold feels like it's in the way, but let's hope it's not that. And the instructions don't say anything about removing that, so we're gonna hope. I like how even on my car and now on your car, you're doing all the work. And I'm just standing here with the phone like an asshole. Got the rail out, but the O-rings didn't come with them. So if we look at the new ones, that gasket is probably still down inside the engine, so we're gonna try to fish that out. All right, just gonna show what I'm doing here. You see that little O-ring right there? Looks like an olive. Just gotta take the pliers right here and grab it. And there we go. And I've already got the other two right there. Right there. So those are out. That is the hole in which the injectors go into. They look pretty good. Might be a little bit of scorching on that one. It's got some black gunk on it.
You can tell.
These two look clean. I'll let you take a look at it here in a sec. Old injectors out. We're getting ready to put the new ones in. This man's got a tub of grease.
No, we didn't. What?
Just go to your kitchen, grab your Crisco, and slather it on.
Plenty, right?
No, I don't think so. Might need a little bit more. Yeah, so these just pop out, pull them out, and then the new ones should pop in. Gonna grease up the connection point on the rail.
Basically just allows it to go in a little bit easier.
Don't shove it in dry, kids.
Nope. And then
repeat times 3 and then shove it in the rail.
This should go down further, but just like that.
Easy.
Easy peasy. Let's see.
All the injectors are on the rail. And now we're gonna squeeze that back down in there. I say we, as in the collective we. as I try to hold shit out of the way. There's so much stuff in the way. All these vacuum lines and stuff. I don't think you can really even tell what we're doing on the video. Basically, we're realigning the, well, you can kind of see that middle one right there. I lied, you can't. All right, you don't get to see this. Okay, new approach. So now, as I drop stuff through the engine bay, we're trying to just get the injectors on first, because getting the rail and the injectors lined up isn't proving to be super easy, because the injectors seem like they're barely fitting into the engine. You greased it, didn't you?
Yep. Still doesn't want to go in.
Did you try wiggling it?
I did. Wiggle, wiggle, and nothing.
I'm gonna get the hammer and just smack it in there.
May have to.
All right, so I don't want to say it was hard, but it certainly was more difficult than we were thinking it was going to be. Getting that injector in there, it just seemed like it wasn't going to fit. So what we ended up doing was putting the O-ring in first, greasing up the injector, and then shoving it in. So pretty much we got one in, we got two more to do, and then we will try to get the fuel rail back on top of there. All right. So the fuel rail is back in where it goes. Now I just need to start rehooking up all this stuff. I'll probably start with the big bolt for the, I think that was the return line there. Go ahead and start with that, and then get that hooked up, and then get all these electrical hookups done. And we got a few vacuum lines we had to pull loose down here. Get those guys back in. These two, we knew where they went. These two were the ones that I took off early on, so I wanted to make sure I tagged these so I knew. But they are in here, at least on this, they're in this bracket. So I mean, as long as you remember the order that they're in, that probably would be fine too. All right, so I don't want to hold the camera while I do this, so I'll get this done and I'll be back. All right, so I got the official name for this thing, not the end of the mushroom, is the fuel pulsation damper. Got that put back on. Basically, you just feed it through the banjo bolt right there, and then you tighten that guy up. I think it's a 20. We don't have a 20 millimeter here, so we're using a Crest wrench, but I think that's a 20. So next, I'm gonna get the fuel pressure regulator, which is this guy, hooked back up, and then I will get the wires all done. And I think that just about wraps up here. And then I gotta put the line on for the PCV. And I think that's it for this area.
You want to show them the dope exhaust?
So my dude, while I'm doing this, is down here hooking up the new exhaust. You might be thinking it's kind of weird that I'm getting down by the driver's tire, but there she is. This thing's gonna be loud as shit. So the cat is still there. When we removed it earlier, it was already cleaned out. Somebody had already cleaned out the cat. So if you're a Captain Planet friend, we didn't do it, somebody else did. But it goes from the exhaust to the cat up to the engine. So I mean, there's really not a whole lot in the way here. So this thing is gonna be stupid loud. All right, so we moved the car outside because I kept dropping bolts, and because it's a beautiful day, we're just gonna go with it. It's a beautiful day. So made a lot of progress. I mean, you saw me take everything off incrementally, so I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. We got the bolts back on, got all the lines hooked back up. It definitely helps to have your vacuum lines labeled when you take them off, because I think we took off, I think there's 4 here. We took all of them off. A couple of them, the tape that we've got on them fell off. So we had to kind of guess by length, but having them labeled would be a good idea. I got the rail back on here, all the way over to the turbo and to the blow-off valve. So really, all I've got left to do is hook up this negative ground terminal that goes here, and then we're pretty much done here. Did the ECU already, but I didn't film any of that. I've got another video coming out soon which will show like how to get to the ECU. And I mean, really, it's you disconnect a couple cables and you're done. So it didn't really require filming. It's pretty simple. So that's injectors, that's the turbo, that's the ECU. That's it, right? For the kit. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So we're also going to do the spark plugs just because, but we're going to make that in a separate video. So we might be near the end of this. We'll probably do a shot of it revving and making cool car noises. First crank. Well, first attempt to crank. See if it blows up.
Ready?
Yep. Ooh, almost. Give it a sec. Oh, that exhaust sounds good. That is just stupid. That doesn't sound like a 3-cylinder 660cc engine. Seems to be running. Everything's good. No oil is exploding anywhere. Sounds like all 3 cylinders are firing like they should be. All right, rev it up. You got the pit pops. We got a little bit of smoke coming from the manifold. Either
Might have used too much of that copper gasket stuff.
yeah, use some sealant on there. It could be burn off. It doesn't smell like anything more than oil, so that's what we think it is. If the engine catches on fire, we'll record it, don't worry. There is no stealth in this car anymore.